So today we're going to be, before the NFL draft begins, introducing something that I intended to introduce last season. Unfortunately, I was not able to. But we're going to be talking about my 2025 NFL draft board. And I think it's going to be a little unconventional compared to the average draft board. I tend to go based on who I think has the highest ceiling, regardless of scheme, just based on the fact that we don't know anything about where anybody is going to be drafted. And for that reason, I have come to these 50 players. I think you guys have seen majority, with the exception of a couple positions, because obviously I have not been able to put out the final few videos due to a lack of editing. This one was relatively quick as far as editing goes because it is a shorter video. But we're going to starting off with the top 10. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'll go through that. I'll put the list again in the description of the video. But we got Travis Hunter, who I've mentioned before. He's 1A at two different positions. He's a unicorn. Everything that everyone has already said about him. Travis Hunter is the number one player in the draft. There's no doubt about it. Number 2, Tyler Warren. The more and more I look at him, he might be the best tight end I've ever graded. A 6'6", 260-pound tight end who can run a 4.6 40, who can run routes like that, who can play pretty much any position you want him to, from receiver to running back, line him up as a quarterback or an offensive line fullback. He can do it all. He's got great hands and fantastic ability to separate. That really kind of makes him stand out amongst the pack. He is at number 2. Ashton Jeanty, another guy, one of the rare running backs who I've had as a guy who can just be a bona fide superstar right off right out of the blue. He is going to be that. In my opinion, he is the third best player in this draft for that reason. Nothing really bad I can say about him. He is as productive as his stats show. I think he will be that at the next level. We got Benjamin Morrison, Abdul Carter, Harold Fannin. Yeah, Benjamin Morrison, like I said, the injury concerns really don't sway me whatsoever. Seems to be a one-off thing. As far as his technique goes on all 3 levels, he's flawless. He can play boundary and nickelback, man, zone, press coverage, whatever you ask, he's great at. Besides Hunter, he is the best pure cornerback in this draft. Abdul Carter, I think he's a little bit of a developmental project as far as an edge rusher, but there's no doubt the potential he has. He's great at any position of the tops of the front 7, so he has to be a top 5 player. But I would like to see I would like to be a little bit more convinced as far as his edge rusher promise, but he's got the potential without a doubt. Like I said, Harold Fannin, I'm really, really high on as a tight end. Can do everything that Tyler Warren can do, just maybe a little less talented overall, but certainly worth being 6. Will Johnson, if it wasn't for his lack of athleticism compared to Morrison and Hunter, he would be higher. Same thing as Morrison as far as can play all types of cornerback. 8, Mason Graham. Really nothing I can say bad about him. Great run stuffer, great as far as pass rushing technique, strength, speed. Overall, just an athletic freak of nature. Donovan Ezeraku at 9. An edge rusher who just, fantastic technique overall. Production speaks for itself. 10, we got Jaden Higgins. I've talked about this before. A guy who can run routes like Justin Jefferson and is faster than Justin Jefferson in spite of being 50 pounds heavier. That speaks for itself. Jalen Walker probably reminds me the most of Micah Parsons in this draft. A little bit concerned as far as his blitzing ability, as far as maybe he ends up playing an edge rusher. But as far as just overall what I think he is as a linebacker, I think he's without a doubt the number 1 linebacker in this class. Nicoman Wari, another guy who I just can't say anything bad about. Flawless as far as his ability to contort midair, athleticism, ball hawking skills, reading a quarterback and baiting them accordingly. Nicoman Wari is easily the best safety in this draft class. Maxwell Hairston, a guy who I've been extremely high on. As most people know, I think he can play all types of cornerback. His 4.28 speed speaks for himself. Maybe a little bit too physical and maybe not nearly as good technique-wise compared to the Will Johnsons, the Benjamin Morrisons, and the Travis Hunters of the world, but certainly he's able to mirror receivers in the very similar way, and a very physical cornerback at that. Jahdae Barron, again, I think Barron is the best nickelback without a doubt in this draft class, but when it comes down to the fact that he can only play nickelback, to me, that's what kind of really lacks. That's why he's not much higher, but as good as I think he is as a nickelback, there's a reason why I have him as a top 15 player. Will Campbell, very dominant. As far as just the offensive line goes, yeah, I mean, these are the guys who I think are the best offensive line in the draft. Donovan Jackson has some injury issues that kind of hurt him here. Will Campbell, I think you still don't know whether he's going to play tackle or guard, but I do think he's better as a guard. His footwork concerns at times can be a little bit concerning as far as his pad level goes, but nothing out of the ordinary, especially if you're playing guard. His run blocking is absolutely phenomenal, and you guys know how much of a big fan I am of Jonah Monheim. We got Ty Robinson, who's more of an edge rusher than a D tackle, more of a 3 technique, but as a 3 technique, without a doubt, the best 3 technique defensive tackle in this entire draft class. Solid technique, solid hands, violent, great get off, superb at everything. Same thing goes with Kenneth Grant. Great as far as a run stuffer and a pass rusher. Great hands, extremely big. We know how athletic he is for his size. He is undoubtedly, to me, a top 20 player, and same thing goes with Alfred Collins. Can play all different types of defensive tackle. His versatility helps him get in the top 20. Mike Green, a guy who I'm really high on. As far as these 2 edge rushers, Mike Green and Elijah Roberts, who I don't know why is looked at as a defensive tackle according to PFN. Both guys who have great hand technique, athleticism. As you can tell, I value hand technique a lot from pass rushers overall. We got Mason Taylor, boundary tight end, the best maybe in this class other than Warren and Fannin, but as far as a blocker, limits himself so he can't be as high. Shedeur Sanders comes in as my number 1 quarterback at 24. Like I said, I'm not really high on this quarterback class overall, but his playmaking speaks for itself. His accuracy speaks for itself, and I do think he's worth being a first-round grade of a quarterback. And then we got Landon Jackson, James Pierce, later on in the draft as far as edge rushers go. I mean, that's pretty much it for the 6 edge rushers that I got a first-round grade on. But then we got the Teteroy McMillans, the Armand Membous of the world, guys who I like, but there's one thing or 2 things I'm skeptical about. McMillan doesn't create that much separation. Membou, his footwork is very inconsistent. Isaiah Bond fell a little in my draft rankings just because of the off-the-field concerns. I think I want to know more about that before I can put him higher. But more than that, I think, again, I'm still concerned about the fact that his injuries were a big thing in his draft career and didn't ever play as a full-on number 1 receiver, even though Texas relied on him a lot. I love Caleb Johnson, you guys know. Emeka Egbuka is at 34 for me. I would have him higher if it wasn't for the injury concerns. They're so bad that I had to drop him down to 34. Otherwise, I think he would be a top 20 player, no doubt about it. Talent-wise, he is a top 20 player for just talking about what he can do in the slot. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, a lot of guys who I'm higher on than most people, the Howard Crosses, the Anais Peebles of the world, the Xavier Watts. And then we got a run of quarterbacks, Tyler Shaw and Jackson Dart at 44 and Kyle McCord at 50. Guys who I think have potential to be starting quarterbacks at the next level, but I wouldn't bet on it. That's why I wouldn't have a first-round grade on them. Trey Harris and Jalen Royals, guys who I think their ceiling is limited, which is why I don't have first-round grades on them, but I think are very talented and can be very solid. Number 2, decent low-end number 1 receivers at that, although I think that they're more reliant on a specific role. Trey Harris has to be an X receiver. Jalen Royals has to be a Z receiver. And then, you got a run of offensive line from Jared Wilson to Tate Ratledge, guys who I'm really high on, but I'm not as high on their ceiling as, say, the Will Campbells or the Donovan Jacksons. They just don't have that raw potential. And, overall, they are very non-versatile. Ratledge, has no versatility whatsoever. Otherwise, he'd probably be a top 30 player in this. Same thing goes with Wilson and Majors. And anyways, I don't rank centers high usually unless they're like the Zach Frasers or the Creed Humphreys of the world. But that is my draft board, and let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I will be using this draft board during my NFL draft live stream in addition to the NFL draft board. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you at the NFL draft. I'm excited as ever, and I hope you guys join us. Thank you.